What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and here we are. We're going to get ready to cover the Assassination Rogue. Very, very fun spec, as long as you're going for single target. But we'll get into that right now as we start into the abilities. Alright, so here you have it, guys. We still have Cheap Shot. Cheap Shot is going to work almost exactly the same. And as you can see, it's 40 energy, and it's still going to stun the target for 4 seconds, but you do need to be in stealth for this thing to end up working. Wards 2 combo points, again, like I said, it works basically the same as what's on live. A lot of these are going to be close to the same. Cloak of Shadows, same thing, 1.5 minute cooldown, provides a moment of magic immunity, instantly removing all harmful spell effects, and then stays on you for 5 seconds. Crimson Vial is a completely new item though, 30 energy, 30 second cooldown, and this makes you almost God mode while questing with that 30-second cooldown. And basically, you're going to drink an alchemic concoction that heals you. It's 30% of your maximum health over 6 seconds, guys. So you get 5% of your health every second back in health. Mix this with leeching poison, which we'll get into that later, and you basically can't die as an assassination rogue. Distract works the same. Basically, you're going to it's going to give you the targeting reticle, and you're going to be able to throw smoke bombs and distract the person. Still great. If you played a rogue before, you know exactly how this thing works. Envenom works the same. It's going to be at one of your finishers. Basically, 1 to 5 combo points. Costs 35 energy to cast. It's going to give you a range of how much damage you end up doing, and also gives you a 30% increase in application chance for poisons for X amount of combo points. And as you can see, it is 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 seconds. Usually always want to shoot for at least 4 or 5 combo points whenever you throw this off for that extra benefit. Evasion works the same, 2 minute cooldown, 10 seconds, you get 100% dodge. Fan of Knives works the same, hits about the same, like a noodle. Doesn't do that great, but it does still apply poisons at their normal rate. Feint works the same. Performs an evasive maneuver, reducing damage taken from area of effect attacks by 50% for 5 seconds. Garrote does not work the same. Garrote has had a little bit of a rework due to the loss of dispatch. They use this as the replacement spell, I'm guessing. And what you're looking at is it's on a 15-second cooldown, and it basically you garrote the enemy using it causes pretty good amount of bleed damage over 18 seconds. Silences the target if you use it from stealth. So you still get the silence benefit, but you have to do it from stealth. Pretty nice little piece, guys. It really fixed the gameplay from the first time I played this. First time I played this, it was really boring not having anything else to watch. Hemorrhage is a talent. We'll go over that later. Sorry about that. Kick is still your interrupt. You still got to kick that magic. Kidney Shot works the same. Basically, depending on how many combo points, it's going to stun that target for X amount of time. King's Bane, your artifact ability, and this is a neat one. I think with this one, you're looking at haste crit being one of the higher, like haste crit over mastery is the way I'm looking at stat-wise. I could be wrong with this, but the way this works, basically you're going to use your Kingslayers, alright, 45-second cooldown, and it's going to deal good amount of damage instantly, and then an additional amount of damage over 14 seconds. But each time you apply a lethal poison, agonizing, deadly, anyone that's actually considered lethal, it's going to increase that damage by 20%. So the faster you're striking, the more chance you have to increase this thing's damage. The more haste, the better off you are. You also have pretty low regen without the haste. So just a thought, guys. Again, like I said, haste, crit, mastery seems to be the way to go with this spec. So this damage is pretty awesome, but it's not that high currently. And then you have Mutilate. This works almost exactly the same, guy. Well, it does work the same, I should say. 55 energy, hit pretty damn hard with both weapons, and then it awards 2 combo points. Picklock does exactly what it says. Pickpocket does exactly what it says. Poison Knife throws a poison-coated knife, dealing 1 damage and applying your active lethal or non-lethal poison. Just a range pull, guys. It really doesn't do much of anything. If you're a rogue, you really want to be on top of them. Range really isn't your thing, but it does give you a combo point, so if something does end up charging out of your way, you can still build combo points till it gets back to you. Your poisons, you still end up having deadly poison. It's very weak deadly poison. Alright, this is like being, I guess, bit by a garden snake or something. It doesn't do anything. Really weak, really sad and depressing, and we'll go over that later. You still have wound poison, works exactly the same. It's going to reduce all healing received. Crippling poison slows them, same as on live. Leeching poison is a talent, but we'll go over it anyways. Coats your weapon with non-lethal poison that lasts for 1 hour, granting you 10% leech. It no longer does a base heal, but it gives you leech, and it works amazing, especially while questing. And then you have agonizing poison, which is another talent. We'll go over it more in depth during the talents, but we'll read it right now. It lasts 1 hour. Each strike has a 20% chance to poison the enemy for 12 seconds, increasing all damage taken from your abilities by 7%, stacking up to 5 times. Damage bonus is increased by mastery. So your mastery can increase this, but it is a very high amount of mastery to end up either making it go up 1% or down 1%. But this thing makes you hit like a truck. Feels broken. And we'll move on. Rupture. Finishing moves that it works the same, guys. Same exact concept. You're going to put a bleed on, and it's just going to do, if you look up there, more damage over more time. That's all there is to it. Always want to try and get this one at a 4, but mainly 5 point every single time. Vanish. Wait, hold on. Missing out on a lot of them here. Sap. Works the same, guys. This is your CC. This is going to let you knock them out of consciousness for a little. Shadow Step, built into the baseline, step through the shadows and appear behind the target and gain 70% increased movement speed for 2 seconds. 30-second cooldown. Awesome. Love this thing. Sprint, increased movement speed by 70% for 8 seconds. 1 minute cooldown. Stealth, does exactly what it says, guys. It does say abilities cost 50% less while stealth. That's because of a talent that I have. Tricks of the Trade, still going to be a threat redirection. So any damage that you do within the next 30 seconds, whenever you start damage within the 30 seconds, I should say, it'll redirect it off for 6 seconds. It does not revert back from what I understand. It stays on the target now. Vanish does exactly what it says, automatically makes you disappear into a puff of smoke, and you can drop combat. It still works, same as on live, 2 minute cooldown, all of that. Vendetta. Vendetta is instant, 2 minute cooldown, marks an enemy for death for 20 seconds, increasing the damage of your abilities and auto attacks deal to the target by 30%, and making the target visible to you even through concealments such as stealth and invisibility. Nothing's changed with this, guys, but on a 2 minute cooldown, it really ends up lining up nicely with a lot of other abilities. Then you've got Fleet-Footed. It's passive. Your movement speed is increased by 15%, and you take reduced falling damage. Same as on live, guys. Built right in. Mastery. Potent poisons. Not so potent poisons is what it should be. Increases the damage done by your poisons by 82%. Seal of Fate. Passive. When you critically strike with a melee attack that generates combo point, you get an additional combo. Same as on live, guys. If you hit with Mutilate and you crit with it, instead of it giving you 2, it'll give you 3. Or if you crit with both hands, I've noticed it will actually give you 4 now. So I'm not sure if that's intended or not. But yeah, it's kind of nice. If you build it, if you use a combo generating ability and you crit with it, it's going to give you an additional combo point. And then Venomous Wounds, passive. You regain, it's normally 7 energy each time your abilities deal damage to a poison target, but I do have a talent that increases it to 10. Like I said, energy regeneration feels slow as dirt, and this is another reason why I say haste is probably going to be way better for it. Not only does haste naturally build up your energy regeneration, but each tick that you end up getting off of your bleed damage is also bringing more energy regeneration. And if you're playing this thing right, you're going to get a lot of bleed damage. So let's go ahead, guys. That's going to be it for the abilities. Let's move on to the talents. So here's the talents, guys, and I did a ton of testing with this. I would say I probably ran close to 15 dungeons just to see where this was sitting the best. Because none of it is pretty basic about, okay, is this AoE or is this single target or how is this playing? Holy crap, this thing was just a blistering mindfuck on what was actually going to be good for this spec. And I did a lot of testing with it to make sure. Master Poisoner, by far the most worthless in the level 15 tree. Your poisons don't hit very hard to begin with, but it increases the damage done by your poisons by 10% and their non-damaging effects by 20%. Excuse me. Your poisons don't do enough to actually really consider this as an option, especially since bleeds are hitting like a truck currently. Now this may end up changing, but currently this is a waste of time unless you just want the passive ability. Elaborate Planning passive, the finishing moves grant 20% increased damage done for 6 seconds. This one's pretty good. I actually did pretty close damage to what Hemorrhage would end up doing on a single target fight with this this Elaborate Planning. Because of that 6-second window. The only thing you got to remember is if you're going to use this, make sure you pool up a little bit of extra energy before you actually cast that finishing move so you can get that extra mutilate damage, because that's where it's going to all end up going. And then you've got Hemorrhage. 15 energy, it's instant, awards 1 combo point, does very little damage on its own, but it increases bleed damage from your abilities on the target by 30% for 20 seconds. Yes. Yeah, Rupture in any one of these was your top damage to begin with. It was top damage no matter what, except sometimes with Elaborate Planning, Mutilate would actually be a little bit higher than what your Rupture would be. But Rupture hits like a truck right now. And then you've got Garrote, and both of those top damage whenever I ran this, and you'll see that later when I run the damage meters for you. But this is by far, this takes the edge a little bit over Elaborate Planning. And then you've got level 30, Night Stalker. While stealth is active, you move 20% faster and your abilities deal 50% more damage. This is going to be if you want that initial burst period, but doesn't do so well for the long run. And it was nice being able to move around a lot quicker, that's for sure. Subterfuge passive, your ability requiring stealth can still be used for 30 seconds after stealth breaks. Also causes Garrote to deal 100% increased damage and have no cooldown. This worked alright, but really guys, it just wasn't worth it. It really was not. Garrote does good enough damage. The extra 100% damage would be nice if this stacked. Like if you could get the Garrote damage to actually stack during that period. Because other than that, there's nothing else in stealth you really want to end up hitting unless you're in PvP and you want to end up keeping him stun locked. That it really did not seem to fit for PvE purpose. And then you've got Shadow Focus. Its passive abilities cause 50% less energy while stealth is active. Best one I could find, especially with Mutilate being 55 energy, this brings it down to half. You can get a couple more in there, especially if you work your Vanish correctly and get that extra damage. 45, Deeper Stratagem. Passive, you may have a maximum of 6 combo points, your finishing moves consume up to 6 combo points, and your finishing moves deal 20% increased damage. Alright, this works out pretty good. Makes it to where you can hit really, really hard, and if you've got enough haste to where you don't have to take Vigor, this is probably going to be the way to go. Just because of that extra damage, and like I said, Rupture hits like a truck already. This is a very solid talent choice. Anticipation, it's passive. This just doesn't feel right anymore. I know it's the way to go on live for Assassination, but right now it doesn't seem right. You may have a maximum of 8 combo points. Finishers still consume a maximum of 5 combo points. This doesn't line up at all with the way this thing's playing now. And again, your energy regeneration's just so low. Vigor, guys, passive, increases your maximum energy by 50 and your energy regeneration by 10%. Yeah. This is the way that I went just for that extra energy, so I can get a little bit more pooling and some excess damage done during the period, especially the way that Kingsbane works. You kind of want to have some back-to-back Envenoms ready for right after you end up casting Kingsbane, so you can get those extra applications. And this felt very solid to go along with that play. And we'll get more into the gameplay later, but it just felt a lot better than the other two, at least for this spec. 60 leeching poison. Basically, it's going to give you 10% leech whenever you've got this thing active. Helps out a ton in both questing and dungeon situations to where you may end up taking any damage. You just help the healer out quite a bit. And then you've got elusiveness. Feint also reduces all damage you take from non-area effect attacks by 30%. Really, this one's going to be good if you've got a controlled area to where you know you're going to be constantly taking heavy AoE. You can end up taking this one, but this is going to be a definite controlled situation. And then Cheat Death does exactly what it says. Fatal attacks instead reduce you to 7% of your maximum health for 3 seconds. You take 85% reduced damage also for 3 seconds. Cannot trigger more often than once per 2 minutes. This is going to be awesome also, guys, for those that feel like they're going to need to be the sacrificial guinea pig, kind of like on Mythic Zul, for blowing up black holes. This works out fairly nice. And then you've got level 75, Thuggy, passive, resets the remaining cooldown on your Garrote when a target dies with your Garrote active. Basically, this is just a quick reset. I use this more for questing than anything because all of these are basically the same, and I didn't really take enough damage for the extra stun stuff. Prey on the Weak, passive. Enemies disabled with your Kidney Shot, Cheap Shot, or Sap take 10% increased damage from all sources. This works pretty good. This might be better for dungeon play just to end up focusing and destroying something. Internal Bleeding, passive. Kidney Shot also deals X amount of bleed per combo point over 12 seconds. This is nice also, especially with the hemorrhage, but it's not worth the combo points to end up using it when you're just going to nuke it before you actually end up getting it killed anyways, guys, before the stun wears off. And then level 90, Agonizing Poison. This thing might be broken, especially compared to the rest of the poisons. Deadly Poison hits... It doesn't do shit for damage. The only thing that is good for is Kingsbane, because it gives you, when you've got Envenom up, it's 80% chance to apply a poison, and this is only going to be 50% chance with Envenom up. And it plays into this gameplay of, is that 30% really worth it for the shitty damage that your mastery does, the Deadly Poison does to begin with? And it's no. This thing makes you hit like a goddamn truck. A big truck. And it feels really, really good, guys. Out of the talents here, this is going to be the best for single target. Alacrity, finishing moves have a 20% chance per combo point to grant 1% haste for 20 seconds, stacking up to 25 times. This is just crap. It doesn't stack fast enough. The RNG doesn't feel to work. Maybe if you're on a 5+ minute fight to where you can get full benefit and stay on the target the whole time, this might be alright. But until then, this does not stack. I've had 2-minute plus fights, and I've only had like 14 stacks out of it. And that's not very good. That's not good at all. I don't even know if I read this talent, guys. Let's go back and read it just real quick. But it's going to, it's a lethal poison. Has basically 20% chance to poison an enemy for 12 seconds. Increasing all damage from your abilities by 7%, stacking up to 5 times. So 35% increased damage once this thing stacks. And you can stack it fairly quickly with the first Envenom that you throw out. Blood Sweat, passive. Each time you rupture or Garrote deals damage, the effect has a 20% chance to spread to an additional nearby target. This is really the only cleave option you have out of all of these guys. That and Death from Above does a little bit of cleave, but each time they do a tick, they have a chance to spread. This is going to play off nice because if you want to focus fire something and you want to keep your bleeds going over, they do have a chance of spreading naturally, not as fast as you would think, and in most trashed situations they don't seem to spread fast enough to get anything off, but you do get a little bit extra if they do in energy regeneration and damage. And then you have 100 Venom Rush, passive. Enormous Wounds grants 3 additional... Enormous Venomous Wounds grants 3 additional energy each time it grants energy. I cannot read this morning. So instead of it being 7, it is now 10 on the each time one of your bleeds does damage, and it works out really nice. It doesn't seem like a lot, but guys, if you got 2 of them going, that's 6 extra energy every few seconds, and it plays out very nice, especially if you've got increased haste. It's going to tick even faster and faster and faster. Mark for Death, this works the same as on live. 1 minute cooldown, marks the target, instantly generating 5 combo points. Cooldown resets if the target dies within 1 minute. Alright, same as on live, not that useful. I mean, questing maybe, but I found Venom Rush still to be better. And then Death from Above. This thing hits like a truck, don't get me wrong, it does really damn good. Real big problem with this, though, is the way that it plays with the rest of it, and it spends... Really, let me just read it. 1 to 5 combo points. Instant, 20-second cooldown. Finishing move that empowers your weapon with shadow energy and performs devastating 2-part attack. You whirl around dealing up to 20,000 damage to all enemies within 8 yards, then leap into the air and envenom your target on the way back down, with such force that it's 50% stronger effect. This thing does hit like a truck, but with the energy regeneration the way it is, this thing only costs 12 energy, yeah, but building up to those 5 combo points, the Venom Rush just felt better to me. And again, this may be more of a preference deal, but it didn't feel like this benefit here, and then the logs that I ended up doing, it didn't feel like the benefit from this was any better than this, and it kind of chunked out the rotation a bit. I did notice if you end up using this guy along right after King's Bane, you know, you could get a really good burst period in there because of all the extra damage if you got the applications, but the effect takes a long time too. But that's going to be it for the PvE talents, guys, and what we're going to do now is go straight on to the artifact. Oh yeah, let's look at some skins, baby. These artifacts look really good. They are the Kingslayers. They are quite famous. Garona would be proud of what you can end up turning these into. But this is your base model that you're looking at. And then we've got a couple different color variations that look really good off just the base model. And then you've got the Cursed Hand. Slightly bigger. And you've got the blood effect that comes off the tip of the blades. Really neat looking. It gives Assassination a good little swing. I don't know too much about the balls on the bottom. I mean, I know they're possibly just there for counterweight. But they still look pretty good. And they do have a motion. Really good looking. And this is the Heartstoppers. These are my favorite. These daggers look cool as hell. Really, this is one of the better models I've seen in a couple of them. I do enjoy these daggers. I know a lot of people are like, I'm not too sure. They look good. And then your PvP ones, they're just brutal. I mean, it's got a bullhorn in the end of it. Come on. Or a bull ring. They're brutal looking, and they look really nice. So, guys, these are the models that you're looking forward to if you're running Assassination. And I think almost everybody's got something that'll end up fitting this setup. But they do look really good. I really love this set. And now we're going to move on to the actual traits. Here we are with the traits, guys. And again, here's King's Bane. This is where you're going to start off at. 35 energy. 45-second cooldown, and again, this is going to do some pretty good damage up front and then additional nature damage over 14 seconds. But each lethal poison that you end up adding to this is going to increase its overtime damage by 20%. Really a strong cooldown on 45 seconds if you time it right. But when you get this, the first step out is going to be this Assassin's Blade. Its passive increases damage dealt by Mutilate by 15%. Alright, Mutilate does a lot of damage already, let's give it some more damage. And then we're going to go on the path that I decided that I was going to take. Toxic Blades, 3 of 3, increases damage dealt by Envenom, and it was 3, 6, and then 10%. A little bit on the different side, guys. So when I cap this out, Envenom now does 10% increased damage. Urge to Kill, rank 0-1. Activating Vendetta refills all your energy. awesome. So this is going to add a little bit of a gameplay difference also. Normally what I would end up doing with Vendetta anyways, I was waiting until I was getting ready to cast King's Bane before I hit it. And then I would hit Vendetta, cast King's Bane, and then run right straight into it. But we'll get into that a little more later. Shadow Walker, rank 0 of 3. Reduces a cooldown of sprint by 3 seconds. Alright. This first golden dragon is actually pretty decent if you end up looking at the numbers of everything else, and it's rank 0-1. Passive Envenom has a chance to smash a vial of poison at the target's location, creating a pool of acidic death that deals 131,000 nature damage over 6 seconds to all enemies within it. That's a lot of damage, guys, over 6 seconds. It's a really good amount of damage. Basically, it's like throwing another Rupture on, and it works pretty well. I'll tell you if it works pretty well later on, but right now it just looks, damage-wise, in comparison, very high. And then you've got Master Alchemist, rank 0 of 3, increases the damage dealt by deadly poison and wound poison by 5%, increases the effect of agonizing poison by a bonus by 2.5%. This is the part that I'm actually running towards. It's not so much this, but it's this. Because agonizing poison does a huge amount of damage already, and this is going to look like it's going to go up to 2.5, 5, and then 7.5 increased bonus damage, which is going to be insane. Especially if this is stacking with the rest of it. This is going to be a huge amount of damage, because you can already stack it up to 35%. If this is going to be an extra 7.5 stacking with the rest of it, that's going to pretty much double the damage of this ability already. So it'll be right around 70% increased damage, if that's the way it goes. And then you've got Master Assassin, rank 0 of 3, reduces the cooldown of Vendetta by 10 seconds, so 10, 20, and 30. Gushing Wounds, 0 of 3, increases damage dealt by Rupture by 3, 6, 9, or maybe this will do 10 like Envenom did, hard telling. Blood of the Assassinated, rank 0-1. Rupture has a chance to infect your target, increasing damage dealt by your Rupture by 100% for 10 seconds. This one is probably going to just wreck single target. Like I said, Rupture is usually your top damage, no matter which way you spec right now. Anyways, that this is going to just make it that much better, especially if you're running Hemorrhage. Fade into the Shadows, rank 0 of 3, reduces cooldown of Cloak of Shadows by 3, 6, and 9 seconds. Activating Shadow Step grants evasion for 2 seconds, so Shadow Swiftness, that's kind of cool. And then you've got Balanced Blades, increases the critical strike chance of Mutilite by 2, 4, and 6%. I do have this increased with one of my slots up top here, which again, it's going to be Shadow, Iron, and then Blood is your locked one. And then Poison Knives, rank 0 of 3. When Phantom Knife strikes targets poisoned with your Deadly Poison instantly deals 2% of its remaining damage. 2, 4, and 6%. This is for AoE. I mean, and again, Deadly Poison really doesn't hit hard to begin with, so I don't enjoy this at all because it just... There's no point in Deadly Poison right now when you have Agonizing Poison. Surge of Toxins, rank 0 of 1. Finishing moves increase poison damage you deal to the target by 10% for 5 seconds. So this is going to be a little bit better for Deadly Poison. I don't know how this is going to go with Agonizing Poison because it's not poison damage you're doing, it's a poison debuff. And then you've got Serrated Edge. Again, this is upgraded because of one of my relics. Increases the critical strike chance of Rupture by 3, 6, or 9%. Huge damage out of this one, yet again, with the bleeds. And then you've got From the Shadows. This, I want to see what this looks like, honestly. It looks like it'd be cool as hell, but it's a passive. Declaring your Vendetta unleashes a barrage of poison daggers at the target for insane nature damage over 20 seconds. While it's up, it just basically pummels with daggers, and it really... From what I understand, it's going to be a solid animation. I don't know if they even have an animation built up for it yet, but that just sounds cool as shit to me. So, guys, this is going to be it for the artifacts themselves. Let's go ahead and move on to what everybody always waits for, the gameplay. Alright, guys, so we're going to talk a little bit on the gameplay here. And what do we have? Well, we have Mutilate, we have Garrote, and if you spec into it, Hemorrhage, that are going to be your main combo point generators. What you want to make sure you're doing is make sure that you're always using Garrote on cooldown. Main reason, 15-second cooldown, that extra bleed, it's going to help you in energy regeneration, and it's also going to end up helping you with extra damage. It's not a lot of bleed damage, but it's still a pretty good amount of bleed damage. The other thing is hemorrhage. If you've got that, make sure you're watching it because you don't want it to fall off. Just refresh it maybe 2 seconds before it actually falls off. Generally, I mean, you can keep a good eye on this. It is a 20-second buff or debuff that the target's going to get. You want to make sure it stays up. If it falls off, you're just losing damage. Mutilate being your main combo point generator. This is going to build 2 to 4 that I noticed combo points. It looks like they gave it a chance to where when you crit with your offhand, you also may get a additional combo point. Works out pretty nice, guys, that I've seen. Normally this would be 2 combo points, but again, if you end up critting with one of the weapons, it'll be 3. If you crit with both of the weapons, it'll actually be 4 combo points. Kind of a nice change compared to what it used to be. So, and that's just what I noticed. I don't know if that's the way it's supposed to be or if it's a bug or if it's intended, but it plays out nice. The poison's a choice that you're going to end up using. At least for me, I use the talented leeching poison, and then I use the talented agonizing poison. Really a nice combination here. And what you're looking at doing, okay, let's get into the situation of a boss. Starting off, you're going to want to start off in your stealth. Open up with Mutilate. That's just the way that I've noticed this to work out the best, but open up with Mutilate. And then you're going to want to build up by tossing out your Garrote right after that. You're going to want to hit Hemorrhage. And at that point, you should either have 4 to 5 combo points, and you're going to want to hit Rupture. And then go back into the Mutilate. Get it built back up to where you've got 4 to 5 points with Hemorrhage. Make sure you don't let Garrote fall completely off, and make sure you don't let Hemorrhage fall completely off while you're doing this. When you get that Envenom when you get your combo points back up to 4 to 5, you're going to have Envenom up and ready, and then you're going to want to toss out your Vendetta, hit your Kingsbane, and then hit Envenom. Envenom's going to allow you to end up putting more applications of that poison up, and it's also going to increase Kingsbane damage quite a bit with each one of those applications. You can usually get 2 Envenoms in to Kingsbane before you gotta reapply Rupture. Main thing you're wanting to do though is track your bleeds. Make sure your bleeds are staying up there, because if you don't keep your bleeds up, you're just losing damage. This spec is more about bleeds than it is about poisons. And you will gain an increased amount, but in a normal fight, most of the time, in a normal dungeon, I should say, normal dungeon boss fight, I was saying that I was able to use Kingsbane 2 to 3 times during this, and it plays out very nice, but you gotta have that preparation. You gotta make sure that you are prepped, just like any rogue spec. You're looking all about the preparation and making sure you have enough combo points to throw out 4 to 5 combo point Envenom before you use it. And you're also looking at, okay, do I have enough energy to build right back in, because you want to be able to chain 2 Envenoms into this Kingsbane to get your maximized damage, all at the same time of keeping Rupture up at 4 to 5 combo points, keeping your Hemorrhage up, and also keeping Garrote up. Really big damage, guys, and the reason why you want to keep Rupture up and you want to keep Garrote up, they hit really hard, especially with Hemorrhage. Rupture hits really damn hard, especially. But that's not the main reason you want to keep them up. You want to keep them up because of your venomous wounds. You want to keep that energy regen. You want to keep it going because energy regen feels very, very slow right now without it. So haste, again, haste may be a good way to end up going, not only to get the extra damage through the ticks on Rupture, but you're also looking at wanting to get more ticks on Garrote, and you're also looking at the energy regen and trying to get it faster and faster and faster. Really, the only thing I can say about this is you can't play it like you normally would. You do have close to the same spec that you would normally end up playing, but instead of getting dispatch procs like you see on live, you're looking at tracking. Honestly, Assassination turned into Subtlety. Easiest way I can put it. Assassination turned into the new Subtlety, to where you are tracking more items than you are any other of the specs. Subtlety right now, I'm not wanting to push off on this, but Subtlety in this gameplay in Legion is quite simplified. It is still a fun play, but Assassination it feels more like the WoD subtlety, to where you are tracking your bleeds and your vanishes to increase your damage, and just trying to build up and pool up energy so you can get these higher burst periods. That's exactly what it feels like to me. Some people may disagree, but that's what it feels like to me. And as aware, Assassination is kind of the spammy, you know, okay, I got my dispatch proc, so I'm going to use it in WoD. It's not the same, guys. In AoE situations, let's completely blow that part away, but in an AoE situation, the single target, I mean, it's just all about tracking what you're doing. In AoE, exact opposite, guys. There's only one talent, and that's the one that allows your bleeds to end up having a chance to splitting over, that helps you in AoE in any situation. But if you're just looking at doing an AoE situation, mainly what I found easiest is just trying to keep Rupture up on, you know, 3 to 4 targets, and then doing whatever you need to do. It's going to keep your mutilate damage up because you're going to have a ton of energy regeneration. But that's about the only thing you can do in an AoE situation. You can use Fan of Knives, but it hits very weak. It doesn't work that great. You were mainly focused on single target damage. Nothing new there. If you want to do AoE, there's a lot better specs out there. Outlaw, it does better AoE than what this is going to do. But your main thing in AoE, if you're trying to do it, is just keep your Rupture up on everything. You know, 4 to 5 combo point Rupture, so you get that extra energy regen, and then you can just single target each one down. That's going to be your best thing in an AoE situation, unless it's like something like 10 to 15 mobs. Then you can go ahead and Fan of Knives your life away, because that's going to build just a little bit extra damage than doing the Ruptures. But guys, it's a fairly basic cut and dry. Assassination is Assassination, but it feels more subtlety now because of how much tracking you actually have to do. As the word before, Assassination was fairly mindless, just hit the flashy light whenever it popped up and, you know, mutilate a few times. This spec is way funner than what it is on live, and it's very enjoyable. But with that, let's take a look at where the actual damage is coming from. So here we are, we're taking a look at some of the damage. And as you can see, Rupture is way up there. I mean, way up there. 6 casts, 44 hits. Average hit tick was 29,000 with, you know, general crit. Uptime was, miss. Stuff happens, guys. But sometimes you got to end up being in front of the boss, and that doesn't usually end up helping with the missing. But as you can see, the uptime was still pretty good. Garrote, uptime, 95.92% with the movements. This is huge. This should be a lot higher. Like I said, the uptime is a little low for the fight. And then you've got Envenom right behind it. Mutilate, Kingsbane. This is the tick that Kingsbane ends up doing. And it doesn't seem like a lot. Before 27% uptime, which is general, I mean, you can see where it's at. Pretty noticeable. Right there, right here. Huge damage, guys. But what you're looking at is this thing's ramping damage. It starts off minimum of 14,685, max is 73,000. That's at a very high tick. And again, like I said, this is going to increase its damage the more that you can end up applying poisons. You can get this thing higher with Deadly Poison because you get an additional 30% of application, but then your damage of everything else just drops through the toilet, and then you've got Deadly Poison that's like still at the bottom anyways. It's really not worth it. Melee, obviously that's going to be high. Mutilate offhand, hey, there we go. And then you've got, you know, your initial application of Kingsbane with your main hand and the offhand. Hemorrhage doesn't do shit for damage. You're there for the buff to get these guys through the roof. So that's going to be the Wrath of Ashara. I want to swap over, and we can take a look at Warlord Parjesh, where I've got better uptime on Rupture. And you can see where Rupture just extremely blows up. 93% uptime on that. And then, here you go. By no way am I a pro rogue, but, you know, it's a general spec. I mean, all of them are fairly generalized. And you're looking at some pretty good damage all the way through and through. And again, Rupture just hits like a truck with a chance to crit, 5 casts, 53 ticks. This thing is, this is your go-to damage in any situation. Now, even if you ended up taking Hemorrhage out of here and you went with one of the others, the only thing that you're looking at is, normally if you went with Elaborate Planning in level 15, Mutilate would be up here tied with Rupture towards the top, and Rupture would be about here instead. But it would still be right there at the top, and then sometimes Mutilate would be above it, sometimes it would be below it. But not a lot of difference there. But guys, this is going to be it. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope this gives you a good idea of what to look forward to with the Assassination. And if you did enjoy yourself, you know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe, and I will try to always get you the freshest content available. And again, as always guys, I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.